Hello there, Prof. Aram here, and in this video I'm going to go over the first lesson that we learned from the history of financial markets, which is there is reward for bearing risk. So let's get to this. This table shows the average returns for different asset classes that we saw in the previous video. So we have large company stocks, small company stocks, long-term corporate and long-term government bonds, plus the US Treasury bills along with the inflation. The way we calculate this data is for 1925 to 2020 for basically 95-year for a 95-year period. So the way we calculate this is by adding return in 1925 plus the return in 1926 all the way to 2020, and then divide the whole thing by the number of observations, which is 95. So if you do this, if you add all 95 returns, you get 1155 divided by 95, you should be getting 12.2%. So this arithmetic average is basically telling you that if you pick a year at random out of this 95-year period, your best guess for the return in that particular year is going to be 12.2%. Now let's talk about risk premiums. So risk-free rate is a rate of return on a riskless investment. And historically, we can now let's talk about risk premiums. To calculate the risk premium, we need to find out what risk-free rate is. And historically, we've been using US Treasury bills as a proxy for the risk-free rate. And the reason is that government can always raise taxes, and because of that, these US Treasury bills are virtually free of any default risk. And that's why in finance, most of the time, we use US Treasury bills as a measure of risk-free rate of return. So we can compare virtually risk-free rate on US Treasuries with risky assets returns to determine the risk premium. The reason is that if you're someone who is extremely risk averse and you don't want to take any risk in your investment, you can buy US Treasury bills because you know that you're going to get your money for sure plus some return, even though that return is small. But if you want to take on some risk for more potential return, for a higher potential return, then you should be rewarded for that. So if the rate of return on, for example, a small company stocks is really high, that's your reward for bearing the risk. So excess return on risky assets over the risk-free rate is going to be called a risk premium. That's your reward for bearing the risk. So as you can see here, risk premium is your return above and beyond the risk-free rate. This is your risk-free rate, 3.3%, which is the return on US Treasury bills, and 12.2% is the rate of return on risky common stocks, large company stocks, or 16.2% on risky small company stocks. The 8.9% risk premium that you see here is your reward for taking on or bearing the risk of investing in large company stocks. 12.9% is your reward for bearing the risk of investing in a small company stocks. So the 8.9% risk premium on large company stocks is a significant reward. And the fact that it exists historically is an important observation. And it's the basis of our first lesson. Risky assets on average like these. Risky assets on average earn a risk premium, which means there's a reward for bearing the risk. So why is the risk premium on a small company stocks much larger than the one for the large company stocks? That's what we're going to see in the next video when we talk about the risk and how we calculate the risk. Okay, so I hope you find this video useful, and thanks for watching.